So today, to celebrate getting 50,000 subscribers, even though as I record this, I don't have 50,000 subscribers. So if I still don't have 50,000 by the time you're watching this, then please subscribe so that it's not embarrassing when everyone else watches this, to save my embarrassment there. But yeah, today what we're going to do is basically, I'm not going to do a Q&A because I feel like I need to answer some of the basics first before I do a Q&A. So maybe for 100,000, I'll do a Q&A. But I'm just going to start off with kind of the basic story of me, how I got here, what this channel is, how it got here, and all of that stuff. And I thought I would do it by just having a little game of Fnatic Mech, perhaps one of the best maps of Valorant ever played, just up there for your viewing pleasure, if you will, so that you can just see, what this game was, to remind you of Split as well, as we've still got a lot of time left, and it's also going to be a bit of a time check to make sure I'm not going too long, but that's all it's going to be. We're just going to watch the game and have me talking, basically. So who am I, right? How did I get here? What is kind of the story of me and this channel? So it all starts basically after coming out of uni, right? I did my undergraduate degree, which is 3 years here in England, and did that. I did a drama degree, and I finished my degree and I realized I didn't want to be an actor like I thought I did, and so I started to panic and wonder what exactly I was going to do. And so what I decided to do after that was to do a master's degree. A master's degree here in England, again, it's just a 1-year course, and you complete it in 1 year. And so I started that and realized that during my master's I had a bit of time to spare, right? Those kind of big gaps in between, like assignments and stuff. So decided with my spare time, I would start a YouTube channel. Now, that is not this YouTube channel. It's actually a very different channel that some of you are aware about, but it actually started off as a Magic the Gathering channel, funnily enough. But then I quickly kind of got into a different card game called Legends of Runeterra, which is actually made by Riot as well, and started playing that and started making videos about that daily. And so that channel grew slowly, very slowly at first, but surely enough, after uploading daily, for many moons on end, it did start to grow, and I had a couple thousand subscribers, and the channel still exists, by the way, if you want to go out there. It's called Something About Squirrels, and watch my old Legends of Runeterra content. It's much like I do today, right? Just daily videos about the game and whatnot. And yeah, it was just me playing that game and having fun with it and whatnot. And so that's kind of how I started in YouTube. But then a couple months after that, so we're in the start of 2021 or something at this point, right? COVID is around and is kind of, starting to become a real thing. Oh no, would that be 2020? Oh yeah, it would have been 2020. But anyway, fast forward a year, COVID is still around. Yeah, that would have been 2020, but fast forward a year, 2021, COVID's still around. But my friends decide and say like, hey, do you want to, play this game of Valorant? Now, by this point, I'd finished my master's degree, but and my master's degree was in football coaching and analysis, so completely separate from my undergraduate degree. But I decided that after doing that degree, didn't want to be a football coach either, because that's where I thought I wanted to go. Then after doing that degree, I was like, oh, I'm not sure I want to do this either. And so I was completely lost for a while. Obviously, COVID, as I mentioned, was, still kind of ravaging the world, and it was kind of crazy and whatnot. And so, job opportunities were pretty limited as well overall. And so, the world basically just got put on pause for a couple of years, didn't it? And so, I still didn't know what I wanted to do, but my friends were like, hey, do you want to play Valorant? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll try it out, because they were the ones that actually got me into Magic the Gathering, which started my first channel. So I was like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, I'll play Valorant. Not with the idea that I was going to start a YouTube channel about it at all. And so what happened from there is I started playing Valorant with my friends, and actually, it was just when Astra had released, I'm pretty sure. Astra had just come out, so whenever that was, that's when I started playing. And I'm pretty sure that the first international LAN, the first Iceland tournament, was just after that as well, I believe. And so, basically, that's when I got into it. I watched that first tournament with Fnatic and Sentinels and whatnot in the final, and really got into it, right? And Valorant was my first TAC FPS. This is something I think, shocks a lot of people when I say this, that, I didn't come from CS, I didn't come from any other shooting game. Valorant was my first mouse and keyboard shooting game that I had ever played. So, it was kind of a big thing, for me to play this game. And you might wonder, well, how do I know so much about, Valorant or like the kind of theory behind the game and all of that? You might be wondering that. And the answer is really, it's all to do with football. So both Valorant and football are what we call invasion games. Games where you want to get one thing to a certain area and that gives you points, or a round in Valorant or whatever, right? So in Valorant, obviously you need to get the spike to the bomb site, and the other team is obviously trying to stop you from doing that. In football, you need to get the ball into the goal, right, to score a goal. And basically all invasion games share some sort of key core fundamental principles, right? So other games like American football or Aussie rules or rugby, those are all invasion games as well. And all invasion games, whether they be video games or real games, share principles of space, people, and time. Those are kind of the three core things in all invasion games. And if you have an advantage in one of those things, then that is pretty good. If you have an advantage in two of those things, and you keep that advantage, then you'll probably, either create a chance or score a goal or win a round, right? And so, like in football, right? Let's say you've got a 2-on-1 against the defender, right? And you're running down at this defender. And if you are further apart, then that defender has further to run, right? And if you go quickly, then you go before any support can come to that defender's aid, and it's still a 2v1, and and you have a 2v1, so you have more people there as well, right? And so you'll get a chance normally in those situations in football. For Valorant, you can do sort of similar sort of exercises here as well, where let's say you want a 5-man rush down A main, right? And you just decide to rush it, right? What are you doing when you do that? Well, you are basically having the advantage of people and time, right? What you are trying to say is we're going to get into a 5v1 or 5v2, and we should be able to win a 5v1 or a 5v2, right? And we're going to have the advantage of time because we're going to do it really quick before any rotations can come in, and before those other defenders can get there. But we are sacrificing space, right? We have no space on the map. The defenders can come and push behind us and all of those things. So what happens in that situation is if you get delayed by the defenders on site, well, then you have lost the sense of time. Rotations have come in. Also, look at how close this is. Mech would have won the game there had they been, I think it was 0.04 seconds quicker. Crazy. But if, in that situation, you get delayed in that 5-man rush, then you don't have the space because, you never had the space. Now the time has come where the rotations can come in as well. And that means that the people are there as well. So you don't have as big of a people advantage either. And so what that means is, you've basically lost all your advantages. But Valorant is much the same. And I think this is why I get particularly angry when people lose 5v3s, and play aggressive or something, because it's kind of the fundamentals of an invasion game that when you have an advantage in a situation, you should be playing safe, right? And so it's just like, little things like that just annoy me more, perhaps because of my background than they would if, my background was just purely from a shooting game angle. Maybe I'd focus more on, mechanics or things like that. But because I'm kind of an invasion game specialist, you might say, those are the things that annoy me more, that are kind of the core concepts to all invasion games. So that's kind of how the knowledge of Valorant and just applying the specifics to the game, obviously having watched a lot of the game and whatnot, that's basically how I got here. But how the Valorant channel actually started, because I didn't start the channel on Valorant, for a good 7 months or whatever it was after I started playing, right? So I didn't start the channel straight away, but the channel basically started because I was watching Lothar stream. Now, many of you will know who Lothar is, right? He's on the EMEA desk. He, commonly streams playing the game, so I'm sure many of you are aware of who he is. And I was watching him stream, and I think he just uploaded like a VOD review, he said, on YouTube. But then he mentioned that not many people were, reviewing pro games on YouTube, and there wasn't really anyone doing that. And, it was like a light bulb went off when I was like, hold on a second, why couldn't I do that? Right? Like, what's stopping me from doing that? And because I watched a lot of pro games, right? And even though I was only gold, and I feel like this mentality of like, I kind of realized no one knows what's going on in life, by the way. No one has a clue, and you never will do. You'll never have things figured out. No one knows what's going on. Everyone's just going with the flow and hoping that things will be okay. So when you realize that, you don't need to be, an expert, and even people who think that they are experts, still they're just going with the flow as well. They don't know that much either. Once you realize this kind of thing, I just thought, well, why couldn't I do that, right? I watch a lot of pro games. I feel like from my football knowledge that I gained, I have a certain understanding of what's going on as well. Why couldn't I do this? And so I just started. And I think having the YouTube channel before that, was, I had a couple thousand subscribers, right? It wasn't like successful, but it was doing okay, right? It was very steadily growing. So I was like, oh, I can do this. And so I started it, right? And at this time, right, I didn't know that this was going to be successful at all. I was, just doing it to see what happened, basically. And I thought, maybe in my wildest dreams, this, could become a job, but it would probably take years and years of doing this. And so that was kind of the mindset I was going in with, where I was still panicking about what I really wanted to do. Because I knew that if this was kind of a long-term goal, that this would become my job, but it actually happened a lot quicker than I thought it would. And basically what happened was, it was steady at first, right? It wasn't, fast growth on this channel. I got some recognition, and then slowly but surely it started to catch my other channel. And I was like, oh, maybe, this one might overtake it eventually. But then all of a sudden it kind of just started to blow up around, I want to say like March and April. For whatever reason, things just started to go a bit crazy. I think it started with like the 100 Thieves video where, they lost 13-0 against the Guard. That was kind of the first one that I noticed getting like, quite a few views. And I was like, oh, hold on, this video's like got quite a few views. And I was like, oh, okay, this could be, pretty successful. And then from there, it just, went even more crazy and more crazy. And now, I have a video with like almost 500,000 views, which is kind of just insane. And yeah, we got to this point where, I had some, successful videos, and, the channel was growing. And obviously now it's got to 50,000 subscribers, which isn't that much these days. I know a lot of people would be like, people don't celebrate until you get like 1 million subscribers these days. But I still think 50,000 is quite an achievement, to be honest. And so, yeah, that's how I got here, basically. That's how it all started. Kind of a funny story of how it all started as well, and kind of a funny, weird story of how I even started the channel to begin with, and thinking that that would, be successful. And I'm sure if I went back and watched my old videos, I'd be like, yeah, these aren't very good. I wouldn't agree with that anymore. I wouldn't say this anymore. But I'm just gonna leave them up. I'm not gonna delete them or whatever, because I want to go back to them one day and take a look at them. I want people to mock me for how bad my tics were back in the day, but it is what it is, right? And I basically just enjoy the content that I make, right? I make the content, I enjoy it, and that's kind of all it is, and it's grown pretty well, right? And I don't really mind too much. I don't religiously look at view numbers or things like that. I know a lot of channels on YouTube do, maybe because they don't upload daily. I think when you upload daily, it kind of takes the stress off, oh, one video's, not doing as well. It's like, well, I'll just upload tomorrow and it'll be fine. So, maybe that takes a bit of the stress off, but yeah, that's how I got here. And going forward into the future, obviously kind of my bread and butter is obviously just doing VOD reviews of games that go on. And then when games aren't going on, obviously, I kind of have to be a bit more creative in terms of, what I'm doing in terms of content. But yeah, overall, it's going pretty well. And in the future, I have, some really interesting ideas. I think with the in-game competitive system, there's a lot of interesting things I could do. I know a lot of people want to see me like, coach a bronze team or whatever, see how far we could get. And I think that would be pretty funny, on that in-game competitive system. And it's really something that I might do, or, VOD reviews. I know a lot of people want to watch me play. I don't know why. I feel like that would just be the biggest disappointment you could ever have, right? Because I know people are probably expecting that I'm going to be like some mastermind IGL, right? And it's like going to be having like a coach in a game, and it's going to be like, oh, you do this, you do that. But, you do still have to focus on the game myself. So I'm not like a full like coach in a game, right? Telling everyone what to do. And even if I was, right? Like as if ranked players are ever going to listen to you, they aren't listening. So, I do think that would be a bit of a letdown, but maybe one day I'll play the game, and join in. Maybe I'll play the game, on my Discord server. Go and join that if you want as well. But yeah, that's basically how I got here. That's the story of me, a kind of a lost child who, just so happened to, kind of just luck into this, right? Because I basically just, took a chance that maybe this will work. And I really did think that it would take years for this to be my thing. I tried to be a substitute teacher for a while and hated it. And so, yeah, that would be my advice, is try things, right? You won't know that you enjoy or dislike something until you try it. Keep trying things. I know a lot of people, who are in their early 20s, teens, whatever, are probably quite lost in terms of what they want to do. No one knows what they're doing in life. Don't worry about it. You have plenty of time to figure stuff out. And just go with the flow. That's kind of my advice, right? Don't worry too much, and you know, just keep trying stuff until something sticks, right? And hope that it does. But yeah, that's gonna be the video. Unfortunately, we didn't reach the end of the game. Which I guess is a good thing, because otherwise I would have been going for too long, because I didn't really realize, I thought starting at 14-14 this game would probably be over, but it turns out no. We'll just watch the end of this round. Mech must win, because I'm pretty sure it goes on for a bit longer, so yeah, looks like Shados is just gonna mop up here as we end up in a 4v3. Obviously, this was a wild game. Yes, it does look like... Oh yeah, I remember this round. The trap is about to go off on Boaster here. He doesn't realize it's there, and that really delays him, and so he ends up dying to Chronicle. And there it is, 18-18. Fnatic would eventually go on to win the game. But yeah, that's going to be the video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you all enjoyed story time with TMV. And I'm actually doing the Riot Summer Rumble Twitch thing today, so and for the next couple days, so come and check that out as well, and I will see you next time.